Hello, my name is Ken and I'm here today to do an explanation on the Las Vegas area entitlements and zoning situation. There are a few cities in the United States where you can build anything anywhere you want, but the Las Vegas area is not one of them. There are multiple jurisdictions, City of Henderson, City of Las Vegas, Clark County, North Las Vegas, and so on, that zone property for specific uses. So for instance, a specific piece of property may be zoned as multifamily, and you may want to use it as a commercial property. It may be zoned as, say, an office zoning, and you want to use it as an industrial use. And so in order to get that entitlement changed from what's currently there to what you want, you have to go through a process. And that process is generally referred to as zoning and entitlements. In addition to having to go through the normal government authorities that control that, you may also have to go through a property owners association nearby, or a neighborhood association, or such as that. But the process is essentially the same on the government entity side, no matter which government entity you are dealing with. You come up with an idea. This behind me is a preliminary design sketch, and what we typically do is we sit down with the client and we say, what do you want? And then we draw a sketch. Now in this case you're looking at a tavern here, and a tavern is never a pre-zoned use. It's always what they call a special use permit, so you always have to go into this process. Now, if it was an office building and you wanted to put it on a site that was, say, zoned multifamily, we'd be doing the same step here. So we did a quick sketch. We show where the landscaping is, where the parking is, where the dumpster is, where the building is, the driveways, and then when you say, yeah, that's what I want, we take it down to the government agency that has authority over the property, and we show them the sketch. And we have a discussion with them about the particulars of what it is you're trying to do, and whether the bureaucracy will support your request or whether they're going to fight it. And then a lot of times there's some give and take there, and they might say add more landscaping, or we don't want a 3-story building, you can only do a 2-story building. But after we get that give and take back, we give you a report back on your sketch, and then we may do a second sketch and go back again, or we may just go to the next step in the process, assuming they said the way you have it laid out is pretty much okay, and we do a drawing like this. And this is a presentation drawing. Now this one here happened to be done in Photoshop, and we're going to show you another one that's done by hand that's a little bit more dressy than just this rough sketch here. But this would be what you would use to go to, like I said before, your neighborhood association, property owners association, and then those are not government entities. You would then go to the political jurisdiction that has control over the zoning and begin the process. So there'd be quite a bit of additional data provided with this drawing, like the square footage of the building and parking calculations and so on, to justify it. And so we take it down there and we put it into a process. Now, using Clark County as an example, for Clark County you would typically go to a town board meeting and be heard by the town board, and then they would either make comments that you could adjust to or not, or decide to support or not, and then you could go on to the planning commission and then the county commission. In the city you're talking also about planning commission and city council, so it's very, very similar. During that process there's a lot of fine detail involved in it, but essentially what it comes down to is there's a process, a series of meetings that you go through, and all the particulars of the project are discussed and why it's a good idea here or not. And it's not assured that you will be approved when you ask for these. So you shouldn't go and buy property if you're thinking you can do a zoning change and you haven't done the background analysis to verify that there's a good chance of it. And really, if you have a choice, you should just option the land and try to get the zoning and then close on it after you have the zoning, because there's some situations where you're in this process and you realize it can't happen where you were trying to put the property or the use. These things happen on a specific time cycle that you really can't do anything about. your property owners association, your homeowners association, your town board, your county commission, and your city council or your planning commission, they all have regular schedules about 2 weeks apart. And so you meet with one, and then you have to make a few adjustments, and then the bureaucracy goes back and they do what they do. So if the next meeting in the series is 2 days later, it's usually not going to happen, because you can't push the bureaucracy to act quicker, or if we have to make changes, we can't make them that fast to get into the next cycle. So typically what happens is you're going to be approved by your town board, luckily maybe with comments or maybe as is, and then it takes a little while for the town board to file its comments with the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission staff writes an advisory to the Planning Commission on whether they recommend it or not, and so maybe 2 weeks or a month later you end up on the Planning Commission agenda, and then again, if you're lucky enough that they just approve it as is and they think it's fine and there's no issue on the county commission or the city council, then you could make the next 2 week cycle for the county commission or the city council. But if there's a little give and take happening in there, again, you're in a 1 month cycle. Any of these boards you get in front of, and for any reason they decide to table it or put it off till the next time, you're going to have another 2 week delay. So you really should figure on 90 days to do this, and if it's controversial, it could take months or years. But pushing it would be 60 days, and that's if the cycles fall right, and definitely not during the Christmas holiday season or anything like that where people are gone on vacation. But generally right now the climate is pretty good for getting these things approved if your request is reasonable and you're not trying to overdevelop the site. The other thing that a lot of people ask is, well, will I be able to go down and get my building permit after this? And the answer is no. This is not the building permitting process. This is only entitlements and zoning. And so after you get this, typically you start on the construction documents. Now, some clients will decide to take the risk and go ahead and start the construction documents while this is in progress, and that's fine. But they just have to be aware that if the approval isn't there, then all you can do with the construction documents is throw them away. So there is some risk there. And under some circumstances, you can even file some plans with the building department and get all the way through the building department and have a building permit down there ready to pull when you get the zoning. So this might be common for like a small liquor store in a retail shopping center where the issue of what the building looks like isn't really up for grabs. The question then would be, you have a store like that makes most of its money over the holiday season. They might decide to go ahead and take the risk on the construction documents so that they could be open in time for the holiday season if that's what they're pushing for. But if they're doing this in the middle of the summer, then they might want to just not take the risk and go ahead and draw the construction documents afterwards. And the construction documents are what cause the building permit to come into existence. We can talk about that on another video, but you have to have both things, the entitlements and the construction documents, in order to go ahead and construct the space and occupy it for the purpose that you want. My name is Ken Small, and I work for SSA Architecture in Las Vegas, Nevada, 4630 South Arville Street. We're right across from the Orleans Arena, and the telephone number is 702-873-1718. The website is www.smallstudioassociates.com. Thanks a lot, and good luck with your zoning case.